the art of the deal.
The goal here is to help you shift, to move from feeling maybe controlled by the system to understanding the rules so well that you're actually a player, not just a pawn on the board.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the first step in that offensive toolkit?
It sounds almost too simple at first, but it's fundamental. Maximize your choices, have options.
Options equal freedom. Tool number one. Why is just having choices so powerful? Unpack that a bit.
Well, think about the opposite, dependency. That's where vulnerability lies, right? When you're boxed in, when there's only one path forward, maybe one supplier you have to use or one job offer you have to take.
Got no room to move.
Exactly. You basically hand over all the control. The sources are pretty blunt about it. They basically say, look, if you don't have options, you're trapped. It's like modern slavery in a way. And that feeling, that anxiety that comes when you only see one door open, that's precisely what the other party can use against you.
I think everyone knows that feeling, that pit in your stomach when you have to accept the terms because there's nothing else. The negotiation's basically over.
It is. So the person who understands power, they don't just hope for options. They actively engineer them. They create alternatives. Think about the job candidate example again.
Right.
If they just have one offer, they're hoping the terms are good. But if they wait, if they manage to get two competing offers on the table,
suddenly everything changes.
Instantly, the whole dynamic flips. They go from feeling dependent to being the one who's in demand, the prize, basically. And they can negotiate from this place of relaxed confidence, not desperation.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. And it leads right into the next really critical tool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something that can feel a bit abstract sometimes. Leverage.
Leverage. Yeah, this is the secret edge, maybe. The thing that lets you tilt the scales in your favor, even if on paper, the other side looks much bigger or stronger.
So it's not about brute strength.
No, not at all. Leverage is all about positioning. The sources define it mainly through, let's say, 3 key ways it shows up. First is having a specialized skill, something unique, something they really need and can't easily get somewhere else.
Okay.
Second is exclusive information. Knowing something important that they don't know, or maybe something they assume you don't know.
That sounds powerful.
Oh, it is. And third is strategic timing. Understanding the flow of the situation, knowing precisely when the other party needs you more than you need them, that window of opportunity.
Let's dig into that information piece. How can knowing something exclusive actually level what seems like a totally uneven playing field?
Okay, picture this. A small business owner. They're dealing with a huge supplier, maybe someone with near monopoly power. The supplier probably thinks they hold all the cards, right?
Standard situation.
But what if that owner walks into the negotiation prepared? Not just complaining about price, but they pull out, say, 2 detailed, validated bids from competitors for the exact same volume.
So they've done their homework.
And crucially, it's exclusive information the supplier didn't expect them to have. Suddenly, the supplier isn't dictating terms anymore. They're scrambling, thinking, whoa, maybe I need to keep this business. The power shifts.
That's a fantastic illustration. So leverage is clearly vital. What's a common mistake people make here? Maybe they think they have leverage, but it doesn't quite land.
A big mistake is relying on stuff that's not concrete now, like banking on your past relationship or goodwill, or assuming they value your past performance enough.
It has to be relevant, doesn't it?
Exactly. Real leverage needs to be current, and it needs to represent something painful for the other side if you decide to withhold it or walk away. So the sources really stress this actionable step. Before any important interaction, map it out.
Figure out your leverage.
Identify it clearly. And if you look and realize you don't really have any solid leverage, the advice is don't proceed yet. Stop. Go back and strategically create some. Get that extra certification that makes your skill unique. Do the digging to find that exclusive information. Develop real alternative options so you're not dependent. Build your leverage first.
Okay, that covers the offensive tools, options, and leverage. Now let's flip to the defensive side. Tool 3 is strategic resistance. Basically, fighting back, but smartly.
Yes, and this is where a lot of people stumble, I think. Because there's often a fear of conflict, right? A desire to be agreeable.
Definitely. Keep things smooth.
But that instinct can be fatal in power dynamics. The core insight here, and it's repeated in the sources, is that power respects power. If you signal right away that you'll just roll over, accept anything,
you lose all credibility.
You lose all credibility. Instantly. And probably forever with that person or group. Fighting back strategically isn't about being aggressive or yelling. It's about setting clear, confident boundaries. It signals your own value.
I remember reading an anecdote in the source material about a startup founder. He got these really tough, pretty unfair terms from a big-name investor. Everyone around him was saying, just take it. It's a foot in the door.
Right, the pressure was huge. But he didn't. He didn't throw a tantrum. He just calmly, decisively rejected the terms, said no.
And what happened?
That single act of resistance became a powerful psychological signal. Other investors who heard about it, they saw someone who wouldn't be pushed around, who valued his own company highly. It actually raised his value in their eyes.
Wow. So his refusal wasn't just negative, it was proof of strength.
Exactly. Proof of high self-regard, confidence in his position. So even think about it on a daily level. An employee in a review meeting. If they calmly defend the work they did, backed by data,
They probably get more respect than someone who just passively nods along to every criticism.
absolutely. It changes the dynamic. It says, I'm a peer here, let's discuss this, not just tell me what to do. Now, taking this idea of resistance into more aggressive territory, there's a formal psychological tactic called the door-in-the-face technique, DITF.
Okay, DITS sounds
Yeah.
confrontational. This is from the persuasion and negotiation playbooks, right? Often used by more competitive types.
It is. And it works by playing on psychological contrast and obligation. Here's the mechanism. The negotiator starts by making a huge request, often something deliberately excessive, maybe even unreasonable.
Something they fully expect to be rejected.
Correct. That's the door in the face, gets slammed shut. Then, immediately after that rejection, they follow up with their actual target request, something much smaller, more reasonable.
And the sources say this second, smaller request gets accepted way more often than if they just asked for it up front. Why does that work? What's the psychology?
It taps into this powerful social norm called reciprocal concessions. When the negotiator makes that big retreat from the huge demand down to the smaller one, the other person feels this strong psychological pull, almost an obligation, to meet them halfway.
So it's like, okay, you back down, so now I feel I should give a little too.
Precisely. They feel partly responsible for reaching the reasonable outcome. They perceive the second offer not just as a request, but as a concession from the other side, which triggers their own need to concede something in return. It feels like a mutual agreement was reached.
It's a clever manipulation, but it sounds risky too. You're walking a fine line there. What if the first request is just too outrageous?
That's the big danger. The sources call it the boomerang risk. If that initial demand is so far out there, so greedy or illegitimate that it feels insulting,
You just annoy them.
worse than annoy, you can destroy trust instantly. You might maybe still bully your way into getting that specific deal done, but you've likely damaged the relationship permanently. You've burned the bridge.
So it really highlights that tension, doesn't it? The trade-off between winning this one negotiation versus maintaining a good long-term relationship.
Absolutely. And that tension brings us right into analyzing that specific style mentioned earlier, the transactional man. The sources use Donald Trump's negotiation approach, particularly as outlined around the art of the deal, as sort of the archetype here.
Right. Describe that style. What defines the transactional man approach according to these analyses?
It's defined as intensely competitive, almost purely focused on leverage, very short-term oriented, and generally trust-averse. It assumes a zero-sum game for me to win, you have to lose.
And it embraces aggressive tactics.
Very much so. Figures associated with shaping this style, like his former lawyer Roy Cohn, were known for advocating overwhelming, disproportionate counterattacks. Cohn was even described as a legal executioner, embodying that win-at-all-costs mentality.
And the book itself, The Art of the Deal, is fascinating because its own creation and promotion seem like a textbook example of perception management. There's quite a bit of controversy around its accuracies in there.
Oh, absolutely. The sources definitely highlight that. The ghostwriter, Tony Schwartz, later publicly expressed deep regret, even suggesting the book should be recategorized as fiction because of what he claimed were exaggerations and fabrications.
Yet the book was incredibly successful in shaping a public persona.
Massively. It introduced concepts like truthful hyperbole, framing exaggeration as just a harmless form of promotion. The whole process, writing the book, promoting it heavily, became in itself a powerful piece of leverage. It helped pivot a real estate brand into, eventually, national politics.
That kind of relentless push requires serious stamina. Which brings us nicely to the next set of tools for mastering this arena. Beyond the tactics, there's the psychological game. Tool 4, persistence and patience.
Yes, This is so important and often overlooked in our, instant gratification world. Patience isn't passive waiting, it's an active power move. The sources really hammer this. Persistence often beats raw talent. Why?
Because most people give up.
Exactly. Most people quit too early. After the first, no, maybe the second setback, they run out of steam.
So, the endurance required isn't just about working hard, it's a kind of psychological warfare, showing you won't blink first.
That's a great way to put it. Staying steady, calm, and present when others are getting flustered or burning out sends a very powerful nonverbal signal. It says, I am psychologically stable. I have reserves you don't. I will outlast you. Often success in a long negotiation or a difficult project comes down to just making those 2 more attempts after everyone else is mentally checked out. That sheer willingness to stay in the game can force the other side to concede just based on your staying power.
Okay, persistence is key. Tool 5 is about bracing for the unpredictable, understanding the lunatic factor.
Right. We have to accept the reality, especially in high-stakes situations, that people aren't always rational actors. They get emotional, they have egos, they can be completely unpredictable.
So you can't just plan for logical moves.
No. If you walk into every interaction assuming pure logic will prevail, you're going to get blindsided by someone's sudden outburst, their irrational demand, their bruised ego driving the bus.
So what's the winning move when faced with that kind of chaos?
Prepare for it. Expect irrationality sometimes. And the key defense, stay calm yourself. The sources are emphatic. The calmest person in the room almost always holds the advantage, especially when someone else is losing it.
Why does calm win? Is it just about appearances?
It's much more functional than that. Think about it. The person losing their cool is burning huge amounts of mental energy. They're not thinking clearly. Their decision-making is impaired. They're flooding the situation with noise.
While the calm person
retains their cognitive bandwidth. They can still observe, gather information, think strategically, and make tactical decisions. They essentially neutralize the chaotic person's power by simply refusing to get drawn into the storm. They don't match the energy.
Right. Maintain your own center. Okay, final tools, 6 and 7. These feel like the capstone. Controlling the narrative. Promotion and controversy.
Yes. Because ultimately, perception is reality in the game of power. Your actual talent, your skills, even your genuine leverage. They don't mean much if nobody knows you exist or if they perceive you incorrectly.
So you have to tell your own story.
You have to craft it and sell it proactively. Think of Muhammad Ali calling himself the greatest long before he held the title. He seized control of the narrative. The powerful don't wait for others to define them.
Because if you wait,
someone else will write your story for you. And trust me, it usually won't be the version you want. So promotion, strategic self-promotion is crucial.
And then maybe counterintuitively, there's tool 7, controversy. How does stirring things up actually help?
Well, silence is forgettable, isn't it? Being bland means being invisible. Now, this isn't about random, pointless controversy. It has to be strategic.
Targeted.
Exactly. When used carefully, taking a strong, maybe even polarizing stance on something relevant to your audience can be incredibly powerful. It acts like a filter.
How so?
It instantly pushes away the people who were never really going to be strong allies anyway. But for those who agree with your controversial stance, it creates intense, almost tribal loyalty. It sparks attention and makes you deeply relevant to the right group. It's not about being liked by everyone. It's about mattering fiercely to someone.
Okay, let's try and synthesize all this. We talked about the transactional man archetype, hyper-competitive, leverage-focused. The sources suggest this style is effective, like a strategic hedgehog knowing one big thing.
That one big thing being leverage and how to project it, often aggressively. That seems to be the core.
So these principles we've walked through, maximizing your options, identifying and using leverage, knowing when and how to resist, the power of persistence, staying calm, and actively controlling perception through promotion and even controversy.
Those are the fundamental skills, the offensive and defensive toolkit that can really change the dynamics of almost any interaction you step into.
And the underlying secret, according to the sources, is that the system often relies on our fear, our reluctance to push back, our acceptance of scarcity.
Yeah, it relies on your obedience, your fear of conflict. But once you understand this code, once you see the mechanics, you realize you can flip the script. You can stop just reacting or asking for permission.
You can start dictating the terms more often.
You are not put here just to be controlled or to wait passively. You're here to understand these tools and deploy them.
So let's leave our listeners with a direct challenge for this week. Pick one thing, just one.
Right. Maybe create one new concrete option in some area of your life, professional or personal, just to feel that reduction in dependency.
Or identify one piece of leverage you already have but haven't really used and consciously bring it into a conversation or negotiation.
Or even make one small, bold move to promote yourself or your work. Just notice the shift in dynamics when you actively take control instead of waiting.
Because the final thought is pretty stark, isn't it?
It is. If you don't consciously, actively take control of how you are perceived, believe me, someone else is always waiting in the wings, ready to write your story for you. Don't let them.